to the Pop Music Time Machine. This is Gracie. If you love pop music history, please subscribe and you will get notified of all of the new episodes. Right now, we are running down some of the most infamous bad boys in pop music history. We can't talk about all of them, the list would be a little too long, but pop your comments below on the bad boys that fascinate you. Of course, there are bad girls in pop music history, but the boys have usually been the ones who are the worst. And we will focus on them, okay? Let's rewind to 1938. Frank Sinatra, known for his rebellious persona, even faced rumors of mafia ties. But his first arrest was for something unthinkable today: seduction. Back then, seduction charges targeted men who persuaded unmarried women into intimacy under false pretenses, usually a promise of marriage, ultimately damaging their reputation. Ironically, the charge against Sinatra fell apart when it turned out the woman was married. Undeterred, authorities switched gears and arrested him for adultery. However, Sinatra spent minimal jail time and both charges were eventually dismissed. Here's the mugshot from 1938 with his all blue eyes. Another bad boy from the early years was the legend Jerry Lee Lewis. Maybe he should have been arrested for marrying his 13-year-old cousin. In 1976, Lewis shot his bass player, Butch Owens, when a pistol accidentally went off in his hand. And he was also arrested outside Elvis Presley's mansion later in the year while drunk and holding a gun. Jerry has been described by many that knew him as a crazy sociopath. Most of his 7 wives accused him of beating them. Jerry had some great music, but there is no doubt he was a bad guy. When you think of pop star bad boys in history, you must remember the Doors frontman, Jim Morrison. He drank a lot and did a lot of drugs. Morrison only lived for 27 years, but he had lots of run-ins with the law. In 1963, he was charged with disturbing the peace while at Florida State football game. He was getting drunk and crazy. In 1966, Morrison was charged with sexual assault. He was charged with kissing a 14-year-old girl without her permission, but those charges were later dropped. Forward to 1967, Morrison was arrested during a Doors performance in New Haven, Connecticut for inciting a riot. Before a show, he got into a fight with a police officer. Somehow, they let him go on stage and he got on the mic and called the police officer a little blue man in a little blue hat. The police rushed onto the stage and arrested Morrison for inciting a riot and public obscenity. In 1968, he was arrested for public drunkenness. A year later was maybe his craziest arrest. During a show, he pretended to play with himself during the song Touch Me. This caused mass hysteria, and while he was not arrested, that day a warrant was issued and he turned himself into the cops later and was charged with public obscenity and indecency. He was arrested one more time on a minor charge and would die in 1971. But the Rolling Stones were really bad boys. Over the years, they have been arrested at least 10 times from 1967 to 1990. Most of the rest for the Stones and the Stones family were related to drugs. In 1980, the one and only Prince went to jail, sort of. While on board an airplane, His Purple Majesty saw a bullhorn on the plane and had someone stash it in his bag. He wanted to use it as a stage prop. They got caught, and once at the jail, Prince signed autographs and took many pictures with many people. This is not a real mugshot of Prince. According to the Prince fan website, prince.org, it was made by a fan. Starting in 1989, this fella had many run-ins with the law. Calvin Cortazar Broadus Jr., better known as Snoop Dogg. Snoop has been arrested at least 6 times on criminal charges, mostly for drug issues, but the most serious came in 1993 in Los Angeles for suspicion in the murder of a gang member. Snoop did not pull the trigger, he only drove the car. Snoop was acquitted thanks to the great Johnny Cochran. And unfortunately, Tupac Shakur lived a short life, but it was filled with violence and trouble with the law, mainly due to his dealings with other gang members. Between 1994 and before his death in 1996, he spent time in prison for sexual assault. Tupac was shot and killed on September 7th, 1996 in Las Vegas. In 2023, a man was finally arrested in his murder. In 2003, the king of pop, Michael Jackson, was accused of child sexual abuse by 13-year-old boy Jordan Chandler. At the trial in 2005, Jackson was found not guilty on all 14 counts. Even the great Bruno Mars has had trouble with the law. In 2010, he was arrested for possession of cocaine. He was busted in the bathroom after a performance at the Hard Rock Hotel in Vegas. He could have faced up to 4 years in prison, but he paid his fine and did his community service. Another bad boy of pop music is a fella known by many names: Puffy, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, or just Diddy. Sean Combs, founder of record label Bad Boy Records, that works perfect for this episode, has been in trouble 4 decades with charges from sexual assault to violence. One of the strangest run-ins came when Combs was dating Jennifer Lopez back in 1999. Both he and Lopez were arrested on weapons and bribery charges after an altercation at a nightclub. Somehow, during this arrest, the police ended up tying J-Lo to a pole. After 14 hours, J-Lo was let go and was said to have had nothing to do with the incident. Combs was later acquitted of his charges, but in March 2024, P. Diddy had his homes in Los Angeles and Miami raided as a part of a federal sex trafficking investigation. And finally, we have possibly the worst bad boy of pop music history. Phil Spector was considered by many to be a musical mastermind. Spector produced the Beatles' Let It Be and several solo records by John Lennon and George Harrison. He produced 18 Billboard Top 10 singles and was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1989 and into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1997. On February 3, 2003, Spector shot and killed actress Lana Clarkson while at his mansion in California. It took a while, but Spector was finally found guilty of the murder in 2009. He was sentenced to 19 years to life. He died in January of 2021. And that's all for the bad boys of pop music history. This is Gracie. Stay tuned for more good stuff.